The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users. On demand on iTunes and on YouTube and on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you are encouraged to post your comments, whether you agree with yours truly or not. No retribution. And thanks to our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio, we're syndicated across the United States into an additional 12 million households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. Welcome to the show. Well, the unemployment rate in the United States has hit a 25-year high at 8.1%. To some, this is just more evidence that the economy is sinking into an abyss. But our guest today on News Talk Online on Paltalk.com says, while this is not the best of news, it doesn't mean the unemployment necessarily will continue to trend upwards. In fact, Hunter College professor of economics Randall Filer believes the rate will stop short, well short of its peak in the 1982 recession, a recession from which the economy obviously recovered. So I'm just so glad, since we've discussed this issue almost ad nauseum on this program, to have an economist join us to help put it all in perspective. Randall Filer, welcome to News Talk Online on Paltalk.com.
Welcome.
Well, we're just so glad to have you here. Do you feel a little like one of those salmon that
Gary, I'm having a little trouble hearing you. Can your technicians turn your volume up?
Yep, and I'll try to speak a little louder as well. Do you kind of feel a little like the salmon that have to go upstream in order to breed? Because you seem to be flying in the face of what all the pundits are saying about the economy. Everybody is saying, woe is me, and the sky is falling, and today's unemployment figures only seem to underscore that point of view.
It's amazing to me how quickly people forget past experiences. What we've got now is a generation of newscasters and Wall Street people and pundits who, except for the brief 2001 recession after the World Trade Center events, have really never lived through a recession. What we're seeing now is very typical of what we saw. Every recession is unique. There's always something different. But the general pattern is not very different at all. If you look at the tracking from the recession in the early 70s or the recession in the early 80s, it's not a crisis, it's a downturn in the economy. We've survived plenty of them before, and we'll survive this one.
Well, you know, Professor, the Associated Press today, this just cleared the wires, this version of the story, a little over an hour ago. Let me just read you the top to their latest story about the jobless rate. The headline is, Jobless rate bolts to 8.1%, 651,000 jobs lost, by Janine Aversa. The nation's unemployment rate bolted to 8.1% in February, the highest since late 1983, as cost-cutting employers slashed 651,000 jobs amid a deepening recession. Both figures were worse than analysts expected, and the Labor Department's report shows America's workers being clobbered by a wave of layoffs unlikely to ease in the coming months. Quote, "There is no light at the end of the tunnel with these numbers," said Nigel Galt, economist at IHS Global Insight. "Job losses were everywhere, and there's no hope for a turnaround anytime soon." I guess you and Galt probably would not agree with one another were we meeting over tea.
You should have us both on at the same time.
We probably should. We probably should.
That was fun. Look, there was an increase in unemployment. No one's denying it. You have to understand a little bit about how unemployment numbers are collected and what they mean. And there's a lot of scaremongering words in that AP story. I'll give you a number that sounds bad, but is not nearly as bad as any of the numbers you gave me. When the Bureau of Labor Statistics released the labor force data today, the number of employed people in the country between January and February, the February change, fell 350,000. Not 650,000. The U.S. government collects data on workers two different ways. In theory, you can ask workers whether they're working or not, or you can ask employers whether they have an employee or not. In today's environment, most economists think that asking the workers is better because there's so much self-employment, so many people working two jobs. So, somebody who may have lost one of their two jobs certainly is worse off, but they're not unemployed. There's another phenomenon that's going on when you see that unemployment rate go up so much. Half of that increase was new workers joining the labor force. There's a saying among labor economists that when one person loses his job, two people become unemployed. Now, it's not as strict a pattern as it used to be, but it is still the case that if one worker loses their job, everybody in their family who is capable of working goes out and starts looking for a job because you don't know who's going to find it first. So if the husband in a traditional nuclear family with a wife who'd been home raising children is laid off, probably both he and his wife start looking so somebody can find it first, and we get two unemployed people for one layoff. So that jump in the number of unemployed this past month, while very real, half of that was new workers joining the labor force, not people who lost previous jobs.
So you think, as I understand it, Hunter College economics professor Randall Filer, that
I hate to do this. It's Filer, F-I-L-E-R.
I know.
It's an ancient Welsh word for he who puts paper in big metal
I
boxes.
knew that. I just misspoke myself. I apologize.
Well, I wanted to stop it now before we get through an hour.
Yes, well, with my name, I'm very sensitive to that. You can't imagine how Baumgarten gets butchered so much, but I just let them call me whatever they want. Hey, you. It's no problem.
That works.
Geez, now I forgot the point that I was. Oh yes, you believe that unemployment will trend up for a while, but then we'll start leveling off.
One of the things that you have to know about unemployment is in every recession, unemployment is what we call a lagging indicator. The economy turns around at the bottom of a recession, and we define the end of a recession as when the economy stops shrinking and starts growing again. What generally happens is businesses, to start with, are not sure that things are going to get better. So they, in the first few months after the economy starts growing again, after we come out of the recession, most businesses are reluctant to hire more workers, and they meet expanded demand